pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will not be able to be present this evening. R.J. Dunham.
Here.
Rick Luther, present. Approval of minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of claims.
We have two sets of claims. I'll make a motion to approve both sets presented before us.
Second the motion to approve claims. Discussion. Hearing none. Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Payroll.
We have two sets of payroll in front of us. I will make a motion to approve both.
Second the motion to approve both sets of payroll. Discussion. Hearing none. Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. It's monthly treasurer's report, but unless we have something to say with that, we'll go without that. Lynn's not here anyways.
Okay.
Public comment period. Is there anyone that wishes to say anything in general? Go ahead. Bill.
Got the floor, Bill.
Was someone scheduled ahead of me?
Not scheduled, but
Is the mic on here?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Bill Reynolds. Excuse me, I live in Fairview. I also serve on the Thrive West Central Board, and I've been to several meetings this year regarding broadband or internet connectivity. And the state of Indiana has a program we're working on that will benefit Vermilion County, and I want to make sure people know about that. One of the things that the state has done is they've identified that 100 megabytes per second download and 20 megabytes per second upload are what they consider the minimum standards going forward. And they want everything in the state brought up to that level. And we can benefit from that. And one of the things they've done is provided us with a list of addresses that have already been submitted to make sure that they are covered on this program going forward. I'm not sure where that list came from. I know that Farm Bureau has done some work in the past. I think maybe Economic Development has done some work in the past. But what was sent out was an Excel spreadsheet, and I sorted that based on first by town and then by addresses. There's no names on this list, but addresses. And Kylie has done a wonderful, wonderful job. This is now on the county's government website. And to access that, you can go to vermiliongov.us, which is the Vermilion County's government website. Scroll down to public notices, and there's an option there for broadband information. Click on that, and Kylie's done a wonderful job of explaining what it's for and how to use it. There are two files in there, and I've made them, saved them as PDF files, so you don't need Microsoft software to read it. PDF files anybody can read. And she's also explained how to find it. It's a searchable file, and if you're not on that list, this applies to everybody in the county. I want everybody to know about this. I'm publicizing this. That's my purpose for being here. If you're not on that list and you're not getting those levels of service, and I'm paying for that myself, and I'm pretty sure I'm not getting it. So you probably need to be on it, so take a look at it. If you're not on it, there are two files there. One is a priority file. It's a couple of pages. The other file has over 2,000 addresses on it. And Kylie's provided a link. You can click on it and you can fill out a form. No names, it's address, etc. You have to be a Vermilion County resident, submit it. We'll get you on that list when we submit it back to the state. And I think it's due October 6th. So you need to do that in a timely manner. Observation, Universal has one address listed. Blanford, 2. St. Bernice, 8. Newport only has 16 addresses, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that need to be on there. So those are fairly short in those areas. So please take a look at it, and if you are not on there but need to be, fill out the form, submit it, and we'll get it added to the Excel spreadsheet when it goes back into the state.
the reason why that's important is because funding comes available for those particular places from the state, so, or for those addresses. So it's important that if you want internet, or even if you don't want internet, it's important that in the future for that address that be listed on there so that they can at least have service to the property whether you want it or not. They'll at least have this service available.
That's an area I have a huge interest in and was involved in when I was on the council last year. If you want to get people in the county and kids in school, when I was teaching, COVID hit, and I had students who went home and they didn't have internet access. That pretty much hampered their educational opportunities. So we really need it for the county, but we can benefit from it. So check it out.
Bill, this is like is this kind of like a round 2? Because the next level connections, a lot of these.
This is next level connectivity phase 4.
Okay, because
This is one we actually went out to the commissioners and it got passed to me to kind of do some of the action stuff on. I'm happy to do that.
Because we know, what was it? With Joint, when we give them that $700,000, there was a lot of addresses that got hooked up, and I know a lot of people are thankful for that because they're getting fiber in places that they had nothing.
Joink is out there, they're really building out, and I think there's another company that may be doing some of that as well.
Good.
And what we're submitting is not going to lock you in any one service provider.
Yeah.
But just put it out there that you need it.
Yeah, because I know there were still some that didn't get anything, but they have fiber closer, but it's still going to cost them, $3,000 to get it ran to them. So.
If you got a quarter-mile lane, it's going to cost you some money. So.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I actually watched Joint outside my kitchen window laying fiber and I can't get it. It cost me somewhere around $2,000 and I work at home. So that's great. Yeah, I'll definitely.
Yeah, this is out there, and I just wanted everybody to know it.
Yeah, I'll definitely get my address.
Spread the word. I put it on a couple of county Facebook sites, but it doesn't, I'm not sure how much action it's getting, but.
Thank you for that. That's really important.
It is. Thank you.
I'm here representing the citizens against the carbon dump, and
If you would, if you state your name also.
oh, I'm
please.
sorry. My name is Crystal Wake,
Okay, hi, Kristen.
and I'm here representing the people against the citizens against the carbon dumping. And we've already spoken to RJ. We know that he has written letters. He's redacted his letters, and I know we can't speak to Tim right now, but I would just like to know where you stand on that issue, Mr. Luther, or do you have a stance on that issue at all?
I
Is there
do.
any way you could support us, or?
I have a different approach to it than probably what everybody else is going down. My take on this is that I'm not for the project itself, and the reason being is that I believe it's more or less a waste product, or waste product looking for a product to be made. So I'm not in favor of legislation being passed to garner monies from the tax rolls. I know it's something that
I see what you're saying from that angle.
and that's where I guess I'm not in favor of the project because of that. Again, it's in a different light than what everybody else is
Right, so
looking
it's
at.
not so much an environmental concern for you as more of a fiscal
Yes,
concern and where it's
and
coming.
I also believe that, I don't believe that the county has much of a stand to be able to take on this that will be a benefit to anybody here unless we do that through legislation.
Well, that's what we're attempting to do. See, we're trying to work with our elected officials right now, so we need to get an idea of where we stand right here at home.
Mhm.
To say that the county doesn't have a lot to say, that's really sad for us all because we're the ones that are going to be affected. I mean, not at you. I understand what you're saying.
I agree with you, but the thing is that they've patterned the legislation as to such as to
Right.
not allow the county to have much of a say-so in it anyway, if any.
And we're
for that
trying to
matter.
get that changed around. That's what we're trying to do
And I think
before the
you're-
permits are issued.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of why we're here today. We appreciate that RJ was willing to stand up and say, hey, now that I've heard, my constituents speak about it, I have to say for them I don't support it because you guys represent us. And so, we're basically here tonight just to see how much support we can get. Does anyone else have anything they wanted to? Would you be willing to write a letter saying that you don't agree with the financial aspects?
I think I've already voiced that to him. I don't know if I wrote a letter to him already. I believe that's already in some of the correspondence I've sent to them.
Maybe in some of the language or whatever, is it something that?
I think they understand my position on it, but I still would meet with them. The commissioners have decided as a whole not to meet with them independently or in executive session, if you will.
As a body.
You're right.
Now, we need support desperately because it's moving so quickly, and it's really, really scary. The scariest part to me is how it's been going on for a couple of years, and we didn't even know about it until recently. And now the legislation's already passed without our voice. And so anything that you could do to help support it in writing, okay, because everybody, and no offense, everybody says one thing, and depending on where they are, they'll say something else. We have to have support in writing. And so if that's something you want to think about, if that's something that you can do, I'd be happy to get back with you.
The thing is that I prefer the commissioners do this, not as an independent body. That's a part of the problem we've had with this going forward, is that individual commissioners have voiced opinions in the past on this, and that's one reason why it looks like...
Well, that's why I'm bringing this up, because we have 1 out of 3 that said that he would support us.
Well,
and that's as a body,
I understand.
That's not helping.
We'll move on, but that's the problem why we're here. One of the reasons is because they took that letter of support back in...
January.
Maybe in January before. But they took that because it was on county letterhead, and they took it because one of our commissions decided to support it, and so that's one reason why this legislation went forward.
Yeah, well,
that's the reason why
we understand that he was supporting it on the economic level, but we're coming at it from a totally but just like you said, okay, you didn't think it was fiscally responsible. Maybe Mr. Donovan thought that it was. We're not really concerned about that. We're concerned about our lives and our families.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, as a letter from me as a commissioner should be from the body of commissioners, not. And
I agree. I agree. But if you guys could stand together with us, I'm not saying just from you necessarily, but would you be willing to support it as a body?
Again, let us talk about it. And I can't speak for Tim. I don't know where Tim stands on it, quite frankly. I think I understand. Actually, I've not seen. It doesn't really matter. Let's talk about it, and then we'd be able to give you an answer as a body. Okay, but that has more weight to it than me
I totally agree.
Each one of us writing.
When could we, expect to circle back around with you, and in what format?
Let me talk with Tim. He's the president of the board of the commissioners, and he should schedule that. I'm vice president, but he should schedule that. I would think that we'd be able to do something in 2 weeks, but by the next meeting. Well, next meeting's next week. I guess it'd be 3 weeks, but.
And just to add on that, I would sign something as a body, as commissioners. I don't know what that language looks like. If it's 3 paragraphs, if it's 1 paragraph, I'm not sure what that language looks like, but I would be willing to sign that, as I told you guys outside as well.
Yeah, we appreciate that, because we just want to be represented. That's what you guys are here for. We appreciate you, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. And I'll get back with you in the next week or 2, or get with Mr. Yoakum.
Yeah, I would say, maybe even email the auditor or Yoakum, that way she can forward it to us, or
I can do that.
Just touch base in a week and say, hey, have they discussed it? Brenda kind of babysits all the commissioners, if that's the correct.
You've already got too big a job.
If that's the correct term, Brenda.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Is there anyone else? Should have sat on the other side.
First time here. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I'm Marva Marshall. I don't even know if there is anything you can do for me or not. I am trying to locate the autopsy of my husband that was killed September 28, 2018, and I am having no luck with Mr. Wheat on obtaining the autopsy. The previous coroner, I talked to him first. He happened to be the first phone number I got a hold of. And he said he was not in office anymore. He had turned all of the records over to Dr. Wheat. Okay, fine. I made a trip to Dr. Wheat's office, left a message. No response. I made several other phone calls to Dr. Wheat's office. No response. Finally, I got another phone number and called, and he did eventually call me back. I don't know where they are, and I don't know what to tell you.
Actually, I don't believe it's the coroner, and it's the Board of Health that you received those autopsy reports
No,
from.
I contacted the Board of Health. I'm sorry, I have gone around most offices in the county I've probably talked to in the last few weeks.
Well, the commissioners do not, the
Yeah.
coroner's office is a separate office and entity all to itself. The Board of Health falls underneath the commissioners, and if it wasn't filed, I thought all these were to be filed with the Board of Health, and they were the ones to give them out.
No, she told me that all the autopsies went to the coroner's office.
Mm-hmm.
I was given a little bit of call the State Department of Records. I contacted them and they said, send a letter in writing to Dr. Wheat, give it a little more of a chance to see if possibly something else. But these records have to be made available, and they also have to be on file forever. I have found that out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this has been going on 5 years. I'm finally trying to get, I'm this close to getting the estate settled. The last place has said, I gotta produce the autopsy.
You sure there was an autopsy ran?
Yes.
There's not necessarily a requirement to have
No,
autopsies.
it was ran. It was ran at
Okay.
Terre Haute Regional, and I contacted the pathology lab down there. They had the title page of it and said that, but the actual record was sent to Vermilion County.
So did Dr. Wheat, oh, go ahead, Brenda.
Can I speak? When the transition took place, the coroner did bring in boxes to my office. They may be down in the basement.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna ask, did Dr. Wheat say anything to you when he called you? Did he say that he
No.
wasn't sure if?
I just know Roger
Oh.
had in boxes. I don't know what was in them.
All he said was, I don't have them, and I have no idea where they are because it was under the prior coroner.
So he says, so he doesn't know where they, okay. That's what I was getting at, Brenda. She
Let
may
us-
have him at the
Let's
court.
look into that. One thing that we just did 2 weeks ago is that the Board of Health, the coroner now has we're in the process, but the coroner's
Yeah.
going to have an office here. Well, he does have an office now that they didn't have before. Coroner always had the records. Who knows how they kept them? I don't know. Let us, if you'll leave your name and your contact information. Let us. I'll see if I can't make some inroads with that too.
Thank you.
If there's records down in the basement, then those need to be transferred to the coroner's office. So that's another loose end, I guess, if you want to call it that. Well, actually, I don't know how many decades we've gone without the coroner ever having an office or any contact real information. So anyway, thank you. We'll see what we can do with that. Is there anyone else that has a comment? Okay. Let's move on. New issues. Text MyGov. Gracie, would you like to say something? Yeah. I sympathize with you on the autopsy things.
Okay.
You don't hear back from them, call them.
Okay.
Because
All
all
right.
of-
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll take care of that and then for future problems too.
Thank you.
Hi, Gracie.
So, John is the rep that we've been working with. I know that he said he had a meeting with the both of you last week. I just thought it was a good conversation to have. I'm not sure if the price point is something that we're able to do or not, but it's a text service that would allow people that live in the county to subscribe to it to get notice. So with election, we would be able to text everybody that subscribed to that number the early voting dates and times, when election day actually is, the last day of registration.
And then the county could utilize it for other services too, like the health department for clinics, or even, as Bill mentioned about the connectivity thing, maybe we could do something with that.
The only, or if there's a bridge that you guys are working on and the road is closed, so that way people aren't relying just on Facebook. It would take people actually subscribing to that number. So it's just, it could be beneficial, it could be.
I think it could be very beneficial to the county. I know I spoke to John and he talked about several counties that have implemented it, and it even helped, voting numbers go up. It helps people, cut down on, when roads are closed, they would get a text, hey, don't use County Road 1100 for the next 2 days or 3 days. I do think it'll take several years to get it built up for people subscribing, but I think once it's built up, people will it'll become a normal part of their, day or use of the county.
They've agreed to forego the costs of the program up until January 1st when the new budget comes into play.
He had mentioned that he told you that, so.
They provided documents accordingly too. The question would be is whether we have a budget for that come FY24, and we don't know that yet.
Right.
I don't believe that we can enter into an agreement that we don't have monies budgeted or monies available.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah. I figured it was just a good start to a conversation, so we're more.
And so anyway, if we have the monies, if the council decides that, it's also a good idea. I think the commissioners, or at least 2 of the commissioners, I think are in agreement that it's probably a benefit, not just for your office, but every other office. It goes a little further than that. It goes also to allow you to click on or to have a website that you can go to or whatever, and I guess that's where you're kind of have a large benefit from the clerk's office.
I think it would be beneficial to everyone involved, honestly. The treasurer, I think, would really benefit from it instead of relying on people solely getting a mail notice on when their taxes are due. They're getting text notice, but again, people have to subscribe to that.
It has, for the cost, it looks like it's would have probably a larger impact than our website would have. So
I think so,
or as much anyway. But yeah, but again, we're going to have to. I think if we have the monies, I think we can then go proceed forward.
Do we have any monies kind of zeroed out for the year? Well, Gracie, does the clerk's office have any money to pay for it?
Well, it's a term agreement, though. That's the reason why we can't just. We need to make sure that the council's on board with this, but I think we're in agreement with it as well.
That sounds good, and I will just, once we get budgets back, we can circle back to it.
Was there any, not to interrupt Gracie, Britton, is there any thought about, since it's on, what is it, 5,300, I think, is that right?
That's just the initial cost. It drops down to.
And then after that, is there any thought about
including setup costs?
Yeah. If we think that it could be utilized for not only the elections but taxes and everything, is there any thought about putting in even that, but I mean putting in an additional to the council to get it started before budgets get back in January?
We could, but we can't. I'm not comfortable signing an agreement that we don't have the monies for, though. If we get the additional, that'd be fine.
I mean, I think we've done some stuff in the past where we've approved it pending funding, and then we go before the council.
I just know they did a lot of cutting.
I understand, but I think this here for 5,200, or for the first cost 5,200, I'm confident we could sell that to 4 council members to say this is a really big benefit to the county, and the reoccurring cost is very low for it.
Let's discuss it with council independently and see if they're still where they at. I don't know where they're at because there's a number of programs I'd like to see done, and it doesn't sound like any of them are going to go, but 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
I did add one other thing to you guys. I am needing approval of the polling locations for November.
Did you forward those?
They're in your packet.
Are they the same as?
Yeah. I
It was
just
late.
printed
It
them
was
side
minimal.
by side. They are-
Same as the spring. I just need you guys.
They're the same as spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
No changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the polling locations as presented from the clerk.
I'll second the motion. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, call for vote.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
guys.
We're in the middle of a meeting right now. We're in the middle of a meeting right now.
Oh, I can't say anything.
Well, wait till the end. We have public comment at the end. That's
Okay.
what this is about. Unless you're scheduled on the agenda.
Okay, I thought I could actually ask you about the ordinance you guys are supposed to write up. So I got.
If you'll wait till the end, yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Joint proposal, Lori.
Good evening.
Good day.
Evening.
You have a packet in your, information in your packet, from Joint. So the current internet situation at the 4-H community building / fairgrounds is, challenging at best. There are times when there is none, there is no service, and so I reached out to Joint just to see what the possibility might be, and with that initial information, I included the monthly cost in the budget that I presented to the council. And we adjusted it just a little bit, because the initial amount I was told was higher than what the actual information in this packet came in at. So my next step is to come to you, for approval for this to be, this is at the fairgrounds, not at the office. Okay? And it would be run to the 4-H community building. Kylie, did they receive the email piece from, like, the actual email message from Thomas as well?
Yep.
Okay.
We did?
So.
You talking about that one?
No, the front page of it. Please.
Okay. That's the email?
So that indicates what the cost is that Joint is willing to absorb for community benefit. And additionally, they are willing to help us get internet onto the livestock show arena area for the fair, which is where, just for Fair Week, okay? But that's when we have livestock checking in. All of our fair systems now that the university expects us to use and work within require that we have reliable, consistent internet. And when we'll have multiple devices pulling and running at the same time. So how we got through this year is pretty much a miracle. And we need to look at how we can make things better.
Is AT&T still under contract there now? Did you say AT&T served that before?
AT&T is who the current provider is in Bryn Island.
I don't know.
I think we need to see what our contract agreement is with AT&T. I don't have a problem with
It's a
it
monthly
joint.
bill, so, but I don't know, I have not seen a contract, so.
We probably should review that contract before we approve another service into there. I would be more comfortable with it anyway. Whether we have to give notice or whether we have a term agreement with them, I don't know. But we maybe end up, but anyway, if we can find out what that is, I don't have a problem going with joint out there as well. But let's review that, and then we don't have to do that in the meeting we can approve that other outside of meeting.
Okay. Okay.
So, thank you.
All right, I will.
And I understand the problems that you had last year,
Follow
or
up
this
on
last
that, or-
year.
I'm looking at it right now.
Are you sure?
Yep, I can leave.
Okay.
We'll go see if there's something in the TT file.
Okay.
Moving on,
Thank you.
emergency
Hey,
siren
about that.
protocols, Mark. One of the issues, well, not an issue, but so that everybody understands, some nationally, they've had issues about when sirens are used and when they're not used and what they mean and so forth. And so I asked Mark to give us a briefing, if he would, as to how we use our sirens and what their purpose is, and if you hear them, what you should be doing anyway.
Britton asked me to come and talk about this tonight. It was a good thing he did. In doing that, I reviewed our siren protocols, which were from 2001, so obviously they need to be updated. They still talk about VX nerve agent. What our training is right now, only quick history, there's 27 sirens in the county. They do not cover the entire county. They were designed for VX nerve agent coming from the plant. So we do have some holes on the north end of the county and a little bit on the south end. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to is to apply for ARP money to try and put sirens in those locations. To set the sirens off, we have 2 locations that can do that. One is the jail, and the other is the EOC in Clinton, which is located at the City Hall. No matter who sets them off, the transmitter that transmits to the sirens is located at the tower at the jail. So if I use the EOC system to set them off, it's still using that same transmitter. We currently do training. I try to do it as often as possible with new dispatchers and jailers. They are the primary people who set sirens off. Anytime there is a warning for storm warnings, they come from the National Weather Service. They set the sirens off, which will be a high-low tone. Since I've been hired, through history, we've learned that if they pick, say, just a siren in Perrysville, and then that tornado that's coming through the county actually hits Cayuga, why didn't Cayuga get the siren? The National Weather Service is not accurate enough to say it's going to go down to 34 and not hit 32 or not hit 36. All they know is that there's capability of a storm producing it. So as a policy, whenever we set the sirens off, we set off all the sirens in the county. Okay? Whenever you hear a siren that has a high-low tone, that is telling you to turn the news on, turn your radio on, or turn the television on, whatever you need to do to see what the current status is. Most homes in this county, because I've given out about 15,000 weather radios, plus everybody had the old black ones, should have a weather radio. If you don't have one, get a hold of me. I don't have a whole bunch right now, but typically the state, when they have extra money, will give me weather radios. Set those up in your house, and that way, when you hear a siren, you're probably going to hear that radio go off at the same time. One thing about the sirens is they're only going to get set off if somebody gets notice that the storm's coming. So some storms, we don't get notice that's happening. And in that case, hopefully the Weather Service or whatever is going to set off your weather radio. But what happens is the National Weather Service sends out a warning, and the Sheriff's Dispatch Center will receive that. They then go over and set the sirens off. At that point, you should be checking the news, checking radio, checking your weather radio if you don't have it plugged in. Some people leave them unplugged for whatever reason, and find out what's happening. Okay. Our sirens are capable of audio, but and I'm going to just say me, I am not capable of speaking on a siren and having you understand what it is. Okay, I'm not going to talk about anybody else. The reason being, our sirens are controlled through radio waves. And anybody who has any background in electronics or whatever understands that a radio wave is a sine wave that travels at the speed of its wave. So a higher frequency takes longer to cover a mile than a lower frequency, which has a longer wavelength. So when traveling to sirens, which are not all located at the same spot, even though the transmitter is coming from the jail, when it receives those sirens and gets amplified, it's at a different time. So whenever we try to talk and say that person who's talking has a little reverb in their voice maybe, or is excited and they're talking like this, or they got the microphone too close to their mouth, it's going to overdrive those sirens, and then all that happens then is the 911 phone starts ringing. Everybody's, what did that siren say? What did that siren say? So the sirens don't say anything. The siren's telling you to turn on your radio, turn on your TV, make sure you listen to your weather radio and find out what's going on. Okay. Control of the sirens, you know, because sirens are a real property, the commissioners own them. Okay, the actual control of setting the sirens off has been given to the sheriff, because they're a 24-hour dispatch center. Okay, to have like the EOC control the sirens would not make sense, because there's not somebody there 24 hours a day. I'm a one-man show. If I leave the county, who's going to set a siren? Okay, if we stand up the EOC, then we can set the sirens off. Okay, and that takes the load in this big emergency, would take the load off of dispatchers, so that they're not required to do it. Okay. Anything else you wanted to cover?
The Nextel program, I know it's not the sirens, Nextel, or how you say that? That
Nextel.
program, Nextel?
Nixle.
Nixle.
Okay. In the county, we have a Nixle program, which is paid for by Duke Energy. Okay, we work hand in hand with them in response, and for that, they have picked up the bill, which is a good chunk of money for the county. Okay, what Nixle is it's a system that's very similar to the text.gov that Tracy York was just talking about, but this is emergencies only. Okay, and to get Nixle information, you need to go to nixle.com. Pretty sure it's nixle.com or nixle.org. Just type in Nixle, and it'll come up. Go in there, you give them your, if you want a text, give them your phone number. If you want an email, give them your email. If you want them to call your house phone, give them that phone number. There's 3 different ways they can let you know what's going on. I sign up for all 3 of them. Okay, but that way, anything that's happening in the county, and this again is generated by the sheriff and their dispatch, and as part of an upgrade, we're going to start doing a once-a-month Nixle test. Okay, but that way you will get an emergency warning anytime that something happens. The same as they turn a siren on to tell the siren to tell people, they would send a Nixle warning at the same time. Okay, this is something that has been underutilized. We're trying to get it a little stepped up, have a monthly test. We're going to put that. At the same time, we're talking about testing with the sirens. On Wednesdays, you should hear Westminster chimes. Okay, we went to that, I don't know, about 15 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that, to not confuse people. You know, if you hear a high-low tone, that's a problem. You hear Westminster chimes, nice church bells.
That's what I thought it was.
But
So
yeah,
Mark, on this Nixle thing, does the county know how many people are utilizing it, users-wise?
I don't know.
With the sheriff, I mean, does the county at any point, do we know at any level?
How many people are signed up for
Yeah,
it?
or
I don't think that comes back to us.
That doesn't come to us, so we wouldn't know.
If anybody did know that, it might be Jim Miller.
Okay.
Me and Jim had a conversation last night about getting the monthly test going, things like that. One reason for the monthly test is we're going through a big turnover of dispatchers right now. Okay, we've lost a few who had been there for a while, and we got new people coming in. So some of them might not be 100% on how to type in the stuff in Nixle, how to get it out. So we're trying to make sure by doing the monthly test, hopefully it's not the same person the first day of every month, same shift doing it. It's going to be different people. And maybe we might even do say a bi-monthly thing or every 2 weeks for a little while, just to get a lot of people involved. Okay, and probably trying to do some hands-on training too. I had talked to Jim about this. We put in a new siren system about 6 years ago, and we produced an NDA guide. Basically, it's just screen prints. It takes 3 steps to set the sirens off. It takes 3 steps to talk on the sirens. And so a dispatcher in the middle of the night can run over there, grab this, look at it, and just in the screen sitting right in front of them, take the mouse, click, the sirens going off. We're talking about doing something similar for Nixle. They believe that Nixle actually has something like that, but I'm thinking if Nixle has something like this, it's probably 50 pages. You only need about 3 screens to do things. And to me, pictures are better than a bunch of legalese that went through 75 lawyers so no one can get in trouble. The picture that says hit this button, type what you want. And having a few canned messages, I think, is what we're going to get to.
Yeah.
Kylie, if you could put that, does EOC have a website on or have a place on our websites? I don't remember seeing them on there.
Under public safety.
Public safety.
The sheriff and the EOC.
If we could maybe post this on there as well, and maybe even a siren protocol of what to expect.
Before I put siren protocols out, I'd like to update them.
Sure.
Because I don't want somebody, I was at a meeting here yesterday and somebody found a sign that still talks about BX nerve agent in the courthouse. As soon as I read something like that, I'm like, well, these people are idiots. I'd rather not people say that.
Yeah.
Up front, so.
So this is something we definitely want to encourage people to sign up for, the Nixle program.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
If you just type in Nixle in the search, and it'll tell you Nixle.com or Nixle.org. You can put in, say you want to know what's going on with your grandmother in Naples, Florida. You can put in her information, see her weather and her mornings.
Oh, wow.
And stuff like that
Okay.
that are coming out. Anywhere Nixle is, which is pretty much national right now. Used to be a company called Code Red. You had Nixle. You had 5 or 6 of these, and they're basically alcohol companies. Back in the days when everybody had a landline phone and cell phones weren't a big thing. Now there's only, I think, 2 companies, and they've bought out everybody else. I'm pretty sure it's Code Red and Nixle are together. And I think with a recent change, we're actually Code Red. But if you do Nixle, that's going to get you to the right place. But I think they divided the size of counties. So under the name Code Red, you're a county with 25,000 plus people, and over you're a Nixle county. But it's all under the same sign up. But again, you can put in any zip code you want, and it's smart to look at Illinois. Where's our weather coming from? It's not coming from Indianapolis too often this way. And again, that's what takes our warning away a lot, because the National Weather Service has a line at the Indiana state line. They don't talk a whole lot to Illinois, and Illinois doesn't talk a whole lot to Indiana. And you end up with, we're the first people who get hit, and then everybody else finds out what happened. Okay, so good to put in Edgar County, William County, maybe even Champaign County, and you'll see some of the stuff that's going on.
And if we go with the TextMyGov, that's not an emergency type texting system. This is totally separate from that, and they don't recommend a TextMyGov for that type of program. They have that capability, but it takes a lot more effort to be able to make that happen. So please sign up for both. If we get with TextMyGov, make sure you sign up for both of these if we end up with this. Nextel we already have, so you do need to sign up for that if you would.
And like I said, Duke's paying for it, so we might as well use it. Another thing that's useful that I have is Channel 10 and Channel 2's websites for weather alerts. So you get texts or emails that way too. The more information you get, the better.
If you go on the EOC on our county website, you'll be able to see these things here in the next 30 days or so anyway. So
Yeah, I can probably within the next week just have all the websites to sign up on. Go to
Okay.
these places and get your name and
Great.
put your information in. That way it'll allow me to bounce around so that I'm talking accurately.
sure.
It's been a while since I've been on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Toshiba printer agreement. Been working with Toshiba for over a year. They came through and did all the county, assessed the county anyway, with printers, with copiers and printers. We finally got that to accumulation to an agreement. It basically saves the county a few $1,000s each year. It also gets all of our copiers onto the same platform and the same type of, almost all of them except for one, on the same type of toner and use. Would entertain a motion. This would include all the county except for the surveyor's office, who has a new machine already that they got last year, I guess. It doesn't include 4-H, which has an ongoing fairly large budget with their machines, or agreement, I guess it is, that it's not worth buying out at this point. And one other one. What is the other one?
The emergency office.
Oh, the EOC, yeah, and the EOC. Those will be folded, if we sign this agreement, these will be folded into that agreement, but it's going to take another year or two before that would happen because of the cost of buying out those contracts or getting out of those contracts. Anyway, I will entertain a motion to revise or to change our machines over to Toshiba for the basically countywide, except for those ones I just mentioned.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with this agreement. I was just sent this today at, I don't even know what time. I just glanced at the email before I got here. So I've not had time to review the agreement. So I won't be able to entertain I won't be able to make a motion tonight. I'd like to review this, and then I'll be ready at the next meeting to act on it.
Okay. thank you, Larry, for your participation, but since there's only 2 here, then that agreement can't be signed. Moving on, Ileana contract amendment. Actually, that doesn't need to be discussed here. We can discuss it if you want. Basically, what it does is it takes away, or it doesn't take away, but since we took over the hospital annex, that agreement, they were paying Union Hospital. Union Hospital released them from the agreement, of which now they are underneath the county. The county is paying for that space. The space that they're using will come off their contract. So the equivalent of whatever they were paying Union Hospital will now be taken off the contract that we have with Ileana up until December 31st anyway, after which their contract terminates. But that's a departmental thing, unless you want to discuss it in some way.
I have no objection to it. I mean, I'm glad we're doing it. I think that's a good, trade-off. I didn't see anything in writing about it, so I didn't know if we had something before us tonight. That's why I wasn't sure.
John, I thought did we not have or you drew that up, didn't you? Or not?
Which?
For Ileana contract for changing amending their contract for this.
I think we did all that.
I thought we did too.
I thought maybe it was going to be before us tonight. That's why, since it was on, I didn't know. Yeah,
it should have been distributed though. Not necessarily in this packet, but it should have been distributed earlier.
And it could have been. There's a lot of emails transpired, so.
Well, I've got it.
I don't have no objection to it.
I've got the document in my drive. It was done August 28th, so I'll just go ahead and send it directly to you.
Okay.
That'd be fine.
Anyway, I have no objection to it.
Yep. Actually, I'll just put it in the drive that I shared with you. So.
Anyway, we'll have Tim sign that if.
Yeah, I have no objection to it.
We have the first reading for ordinance for the county coroner. Basically what this is it codifies takes the statute and allows the county to recover its costs for autopsies. And basically a number of different entities, offices have been passing these on to the county, and the county's not had a way or means in which to recover the costs when they should have been performing these autopsies and paying for these from their offices, whatever those offices are, medical offices. And so what this allows is that the coroner can recover the cost of autopsy if it's being assigned to the county. And I'd like to introduce this, if you would,
First reading. You want to do first reading tonight?
First reading, yes.
Yeah, we'll do this as a first reading by title only, because I don't think anybody wants to hear me read 7 paragraphs.
It's a 6.
It's a 6? All right, I'll read this by title. Ordinance number 2023-6, an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of Vermilion County, Indiana.
Okay, we have the first reading of it. Unless there's any discussion, we'll carry that to the next meeting for second reading and any changes and/or comment. Not hearing anything, we'll move on.
Okay.
One-year liability waiver and indemnification. What is that? Did I put that on there?
You did.
Are you sure?
I did, yeah.
Do you know what
I have absolutely no idea.
We'll table that one.
I could not tell you. I didn't put it on, so I have no
I'm
idea.
sure that was an important one. State Road Bridge, 63 South and State Road 234. There was a comment period that closed, I think, last Wednesday, maybe. Do you know anything? Were there any comments afforded, or?
The only comments I afforded myself was requesting a public hearing for that project, and I believe I didn't get an email back. I got a phone call back stating that NDOT would provide one at a later date to be determined. I don't know if that'll be 2 years before the project or it'll be next year, but they will keep us in the loop on that.
I think that's supposed to happen within a year, isn't it?
Yeah, I think once you request it, it's supposed to happen within a certain timeline.
I'd like to talk to you after the meeting about that too. CO2 sequestration project update. That was put it on here because there was supposed to have been a meeting last Wednesday, I guess it was. That was the commissioners had requested that Wabash Valley attend a meeting and then have representatives that were there from Senate and our representatives in the commissioner's office. That meeting didn't happen. Wabash Valley, and I don't know the exact reason, but the Wabash Valley Resources was not able to attend that meeting. That's all the information I got from them was that. Do you know of any other reason why it was canceled?
Just the email that we all received, which was they canceled it due to circumstances or whatever that email said.
Yeah, it's nondescript pretty
Yeah.
much. So basically, that's to be, from what I understand, rescheduled, but I don't have a date as of this time.
Yeah, they haven't shared anything with me either.
County Highway Organization, engineer agreement. Tim's not here, so unless you have something on that.
I don't have anything on it.
County Annex update, John Graves. You're right, you're on the agenda.
I thought it was on. I thought it was on.
Thank you.
Save the best for last.
Is this last? Am I last?
Well, we're getting close. We're getting close to the end, John.
That's good news.
I'll make dinner at a decent time tonight, maybe.
Thank you.
My goal is to make her.
My wife's working, it's frozen pizza.
Okay, the county annex is right across the street to the south.
Thank you.
We're working on it. We are working on it. Demolition is pretty much complete. Plumbing, the concrete, the wall, the floor has been cut, pipes have been laid, and the floor has been relaid. So concrete's been relayed. So plumbers will start roughing plumbing above grade next Monday. Electrical, they're over there. We're over there just a little bit ago. Working, roughing in electrical.
Good.
The walls are almost all framed. The drywall will begin next week for the walls. The soil entry door will be put in on the 21st, Thursday. The radon mitigation bid, we just haven't scheduled it yet. It'll take a one-day thing, and some of that we're waiting on because of Eric's request for additional parking.
Okay.
So, painting contractor, still too soon to get a bid, but he is, there's a question about, I don't know if you've been over there and saw some of the wild wallpaper that was on some of the existing walls. If we try to save that drywall, we're gonna have to skim coat because of that textured wallpaper. And at this point, I'm not sure if it's cheaper to just rip the drywall out and start over again. We're looking at that.
Okay.
So I got, John James has given me a quote for skim coating it.
So how wild is this wallpaper, John?
Oh.
It's 1970s version, isn't
It's flowers and leaves
Oh, that's.
and
Might want to leave it. Talk to the
textured
public defender's office, see if they want to leave that in there, maybe.
I'm thinking not.
I think you're probably right. You're probably right.
And it's too soon to talk about technology, Wi-Fi or whatever we're doing, so we'll be looking at that soon. Good.
Before the drywall goes up, you may want to be talking with them, unless everything's going to go in the false ceiling.
Well, I need to meet with the public defenders. I just now this week got a chance to talk to the public defenders for the first time.
Okay.
And I need to find out what
It's just a
their-
suggestion. You're running the project. I just.
Well, yeah, I want to find out what their desires are, and bounce that against the budget and see where we're at. But
Sure.
My suspicion is we'll have a Wi-Fi set up for the public defenders, and we'll have a Wi-Fi set up for the soil and water people, and that will be it.
Okay.
That's my anticipation. Any questions?
I already asked him earlier.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, keep up the good work, John. Looking forward to seeing the completed project.
We'll get it done as quickly as we can.
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Announcements, Health Department, they're now moved officially over to 700 South Main Street in Clinton. They're in business now, and the coroner's moved over there, but I don't know that he's actually got his office set up yet. And hopefully we can get the whatever records we have in the courthouse over to that location as well. County festivals and events, over the river and through the woods, 5K. I don't have a date on here.
It's this Saturday.
Yes, it is.
This Saturday.
23rd. Yep.
That's what, Montezuma, I take it, and coming
Yep.
across to Hillsdale.
Yep.
Okay. Newport Antique and Auto Hill Climb, September 29th to October 1st, Vermilion County Bicentennial. Actually, we became a county February 1st in 1824, so we're on our 200th anniversary coming up here at Bicentennial. I put down some things that I would like to see us do. I'll probably announce those at the next meeting to see if garner some more interest on that. With that, we'll go to our second round of public comment. Yeah. Thank you for waiting.
My name is Gary Tatlock. I live out in Universal. And I know you guys are supposed to maybe write up an ordinance on this pipeline. I was trying to figure out where you're at.
I don't know of an ordinance on pipeline that I'm aware of.
Would it be some type of county ordinance or something?
That would be area planning that would be suggesting something to that effect, or already in the area plan and zoning. Those meetings
Thursday
coming out in 2 days. Thursday evening, you may want to attend that meeting.
Okay. I mean, we're really concerned about it. I live about 1 mile from going to be that well site.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, did some research on these pipelines is busted. And you know, once your vehicles, that carbon monoxide gets out, nothing will stop. You know, now I don't know if you guys got any plans on, or if there was an emergency, how would you even get to people, you know, passed out or anything?
Those are questions that I think were addressed to Wabash Valley as far as emergency planning and emergency services. I don't know that I've seen any answers to any of the questions at this point from EPA or from
Well, I appreciate
in writing
anything
anyone.
you guys can do. You know.
On that front, the commissioners can probably, well, I say that. Actually, fire is actually township ran.
Yeah, I know Diamond is right there,
But we'll be
they talk-
insisting on safety protocols
Well, no,
anyway.
they was talking about
And I don't think they'll have a problem with providing those.
well, I know in Mississippi they had that incident, and I guess their vehicles wouldn't even stop.
Not familiar with that, but
Yeah.
there's a number of there's a lot of pipelines. Actually, there's a lot of pipelines through the county, for that matter,
Well, I know
already.
that carbon or CO2.
CO2, right?
Yeah.
There's well taken, sure.
I mean, you guys, I don't know if you guys did any research on it, but you ought to look it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's the guy's name for area plan.
Okay.
Note though that there are certain things area planning can do, but there's certain things that the state's
I believe
preempted them, I guess, if you will, from what they can do
I just
too.
believe our state lawmakers figured it out. I mean, we should knew about this a long time ago.
I don't think anybody understood the gravity or what they were doing. There's a CO2 thing across the whole state of Indiana, but
Yeah.
this was
Yeah,
special.
these well sites here is way I got is class 2, and there's only 2 in the United States besides these they're trying to put in.
Yeah. Yeah. Class 6 maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's class 6, yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else?
their property in Universal, they have property listed that is protected. I think I brought that to your attention. Did you happen to find out what DNR what?
I haven't. Believe it or not, sometimes DNR is hard to get a hold of. And last couple of phone numbers I've even tried have been like, I won't say disconnected, but it says no longer in service. And those are numbers listed on the state website even. Yeah, that's an issue from the state. That is an issue. So no, I have not been able to find out.
Still working on it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is there somebody you can get us to that has surveyed the area? Because like I have stated before, that being a blasting site years ago, that surface has well shafts in it. Dirt was just barely dumped over it. There's cracks from them blasts for miles. I would like to know who surveyed the area, how far they surveyed, how deep they went to look at this, wherever they're planning to dump this. If they have something on their website, if they have images they could present that says, you know, hey, we looked at it, yeah, for sure, we're not going to run into a problem because it was a blasting site. And I know for sure they're going to have a problem somewhere. It is going to leak off eventually. So then here, us as the taxpayers bear the burden of everything that goes wrong in this, while they pack up, get on a plane, jump out of the country, and we're left with the cost and the damage. So I would like to know who done that survey specifically, what the images were. There's got to be a report on it somewhere. Needs to be presented to everybody in the county so they're able to view that themselves so they know what that report says. If you can work on finding that out, that would be great. And as far as the state legislators and everybody already signed on to this, isn't there something that all commissioners can do in all counties to get together on this and say, hey, our constituents are really worried about this. We need to go together as a team and start pressuring the state to do some repeals here.
I think there's probably a process with that because a year ago, 2 years ago, House Bill 1311 maybe.
I don't think that's it, but it was something
House
like
Bill,
that.
I'm gonna just throw out the 1311. There was a House bill that they wanted to take away public or local control it was for wind and solar. The state wanted to step in and say, hey, we're going to set state standards across the state. And the majority of counties signed this, letter, resolution, whatever you want to call it, saying we don't want you into our county doing this. And the bill ended up failing by, Braden, you might help me, 1-2 votes maybe?
Half vote.
Half vote. It was very close. And even counties like White County that are pro-windmill, pro-solar was against it because they didn't want the state telling them how to set the setbacks, or because that's what you have local zoning for, your APC board that's made up of commissioner appointments, council appointments, town appointments. They wanted the control. So, I mean, that bill failed, but that was a big, strong push from, I'll say probably over 70, 80 counties probably signed on to that if I had to look back at it. It was a big push. But that was, that was caught, when they introduced that legislation, it was caught early, and then we were able to fight back. A lot of this stuff started, 2016, 2017, 2018, and most of us sitting here weren't even here. And how they got that passed, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and no local people knew about it, I don't know. I mean, nobody did. I was on the council at the time, and I had no idea. Tim, I think, was a commissioner, and I don't think he was ever notified at the time either. So it's just a sad, it was good they caught this, but, this here was started, they had plans 10, 7,
Right,
18.
we're pretty much at the end of it. And the only thing we got is to come against the EPA.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that this didn't probably hit a radar is because it's called a pilot program, and it only involves 2 counties, Vigo and Vermillion.
Yeah, that was the target.
Well, it's a little easier when it affects 92 counties than it is when it affects 2, and then it's not necessarily something that's advertised or well.
And I think Warren and Benton County is getting ready to go through the same thing right now. I received a call from a commissioner and a council member the other day. They had meetings from their zoning, or they were calling, and they didn't even know about the Vermillion County, Vigo County thing. And their citizens are, I'm not going to say 50-50, but there's a lot of them up in arms in Warren and Benton. And I think it's a different company talking about. I don't know if it's Is it okay? Yeah, and I don't know if it's the exact same thing, but yeah, Warren County, Benton. So I think it's just something that's going to end up going across the whole state. It's not just going to affect us. We're just the tip of the iceberg per se.
Just one making the most noise right now.
Well, it was a pilot. This is just special legislation. It doesn't affect the whole state. This is just for Vermilion and Vigo County. This legislation was.
So the legislation from the state was just for Vermilion?
It was just for Vermilion and Vigo County only.
Yeah, they carved. Eventually, they carved us out, and I think after the pilot program, if this same project would go in, I don't know, say White County or Benton County, there's special stipulations in there that they have to garner so much support for the project for it to even go.
That's statewide, though.
Yeah,
that doesn't apply here.
No.
But it's like 70%, I believe, was the number I saw.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not read the final legislation. I keep looking for it, but I found the Senate amendments to it. What I read before was apparently not the final version. So I'm still.
And that's the other thing, when you may support just like anything, you may support 1A, and then by the time it gets passed, it'll be 1Z, and there will be 25, 30 amendments that you may not even have supported, because there's no way I would have supported something that made this a pilot program. But by the time all these amendments are done, you don't know what people are doing, especially in committees, subcommittees, and by the time it gets to the floor, no one has any time to vote on it, or not even to vote on it, to read what's been done. So.
What I might suggest, though, is if you're wanting the commissioners to act or comment, if you will, put these in writing, though, just because what you say something and what I hear are not necessarily the same thing. And so I would suggest, if there's an interest, that you send those basically through the auditor, where we can have those questions. And I think that if we do have a meeting, if it ends up having a meeting, I think that's going to help make that meeting go a little more effectively, where instead of everybody asking the same question or stating the same thing, it gets reiterative and it doesn't really serve a purpose after a while. But if we can get those where it's actually a bullet, we can maybe come to some understanding, maybe where we're at.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Take a motion to motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second to motion. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.